We've had so much fun with this, and we had a great time with the live audience. Our last time, we've decided to do it again.
We did.
May 13th at Toledo Spirits. And Gretchen, both you and Matt are now inviting guests out this time.
That's right.
Do you know that, Matt?
I just found out myself, and it is exciting.
You're going to be ready for this.
6 o'clock doors, 7 o'clock we'll start the recording.
At 9 p.m., we'll start the interesting part.
Yeah.
When everybody gets to go home.
That's right.
But come on out and join us. We'd love to see you there and have you get a chance to be a part of the chaos that is the 419. We'll see you May 13th at Toledo Spirits. Gretchen, what else is going on?
I think as a sign of our overwhelming popularity and success on this podcast, we are now happy to announce that we have a new sponsor.
A sponsor is probably an important distinction.
A new
Sorry.
sponsor.
That's right.
It is both a and new.
Yes.
You are both correct.
Yes.
When we got started, I remember our very first conversations about this, and we really didn't have a plan
or talent
on where it was going to go. Right?
Right.
We just knew that we wanted to tell positive stories, help lift up the community, and shine a spotlight on individuals that are doing great things in our community.
That's right.
And so when we started down that road, it's not surprising that we found other people that want to help us do that. And that was one of the really cool things about this this conversation with the folks, Tim Wheatro and the folks at Wheatro Wealth Management. When we sat down and talked to Tim about what we want to do and what Tim cares about as well.
Absolutely.
It was great. He was like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to be a part of that. And so we're very excited to announce our very first sponsor is Wheatro Wealth Management. You're going to hear us talking about them throughout the episodes coming up, but I just want to a really heartfelt thank you to Tim, Wes, the entire team there at Wheatro Wealth Management for helping us tell these stories and making this something that we can continue to do because, I don't want to, we're not martyrs here, right? But we've been bootstrapping this.
Sure.
And it's not without effort or not without cost. And so to have a partner like Tim say, I want you guys to keep doing what you're doing and not worry about.
Yeah. And I think Tim's sort of calling card is there's a lot of financial products, right? But this is about relationships and community building. So what we were doing, the stories I think were compelling to him. He's a good guy. I'm grateful for anyone in our community that cares about the greater, and he certainly does that. And
I think it's, with each of us, like in our jobs and in our personal lives, right, there isn't anything that we like for our friends or our, colleagues that we pull off the shelf and this is the thing we're selling to everybody, right? This is the thing. I think it's a true personalized solution for everybody, right? Gretchen, you
Yes.
do it in your work.
That's
Matt,
right.
you certainly do it in yours. And I think for me, I tell my clients when they're like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, I don't know. I do something different for everybody.
Right.
And that's part of what, from a professional standpoint, I do really like about Tim is he's an independent consultant. So there isn't a specific product or service that he has to sell you. He can actually sit down, he can listen,
Yeah.
and he can say, what do you need? And let's put that plan together. And so we're excited to have Tim a part of the program. I think Tim's going to be a part of the live program.
Great.
So we're excited to have him out there.
And if you want us to stop recording these, then you should really blame Tim because it's his fault that we're going to
Well,
keep going.
there
right?
is there's a price tag for us to keep going, and there's a price tag for us to stop. So you decide how much you want to contribute. And we'll see
Another
what
great
happens.
T-shirt.
Yeah.
Pay us to stop.
So a huge thank you to Tim Wheatro and the folks at Wheatro Wealth Management for their support. Learn more at wheatroadvisors.com. And now, the 419.
All right. It's my day.
Welcome back to this episode of the pod. And
That's
we have
right.
Matt's guest today.
It is my special day with my special guest. I'm very excited to introduce this person. Both of you have been trying to cheat the name out of me all day.
You've been giving us fake names.
That's right. That's right. So
I'm not, but I will say, I think it is totally on brand for you to have responded in the group text when Gretchen asked for clues,
Yeah.
and
That's
you
right.
responded
You
with
just
a
gave a name.
name.
That's right. Well, unfortunately, that person wouldn't make it, so this bozo came. So we'll just do the best we can, right? This person is a friend of mine, I'm proud to say, a friend of the area, a native son of Toledo, Ohio. He is, he's a he. God damn, that's why I'm not good at this.
Yeah, got
Didn't even make it
an
past one
avid
clue.
gardener,
Oh.
right? Also has worked in and out of a trailer. I am wearing him right now. Both of you own pieces of him.
I know who it is.
Who?
No. If you don't know yet, I'm going to hold on to it.
Their tagline does not represent the two of you in any way, shape, or form.
Now that I'm offended by.
Okay, you do know who it is. I'm going to
quite
ask
offended.
to come in. John Amato.
Yeah.
Yay!
What's up, John?
Hey, John.
John, the microphone is not. You got to come all the way over here before they can hear you. This is going so good.
Making you
I'd
get.
have to walk around the whole circle.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
So windy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're trying to help you get your steps in.
Yeah, I need
gotta-
him.
you gotta
Well, the
close those
stairs
circles.
helped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these stairs.
The
Yeah.
stairs.
We
work-
there might be one
We
more.
record on the top of the OI building, just so everyone
We like
knows.
to make it accessible for everybody.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
elevator.
That was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
So, John, you are my guest, so thank you. The other 38 people I called had an unusual
For something busy.
something to do.
For some reason.
But I'm super proud of you. We're buddies. There's a litany of things I want to talk about today. How you made your brand, what your brand means, and you are sort of the essence, I think, of the show because we
Can
bring.
I just take this call from DoorDash real quick?
Yeah,
Seriously?
this is what she does when
Hang
someone
on.
else is
You got,
guest.
do it on
Yeah.
speakerphone. Speakerphone.
Yeah.
Hello?
Dominic, it's going to be a rough night of editing for you.
Yeah.
Sorry,
John,
John.
That's okay.
Whenever it's not Gretchen's guest, she just orders food and other things to come.
coffee.
So don't take it personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully you didn't want anything.
Right. Well, I assume this is what I got for being Matt's guest. So.
Yeah, 100%.
100%
I expect more to
correct.
come.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
show is not even going to be aired. So
These microphones aren't even plugged
I
in.
assumed
Yeah.
by inviting me
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to air it.
Yeah.
So.
You've got
just
such
to
a
practice.
cool history to the company that I know we'll get into, but I guess anytime that I try and start like with the end, Matt
Right.
gets upset and we want to go back to the
Yeah,
beginning.
totally.
So like, talk to me about like, I mean, your dad's fairly well known in the community as well. I'm a
Right.
nonprofit fundraising guy, so I've had a number of interactions with him, both personally and professionally. But
Right.
I'm kind of curious what childhood was like for John Amato.
Well, I grew up with three
Wolves.
siblings. Wolves, yeah. That's why my children are so feral. There are, four of us kids in the family. I've got two brothers and a sister. We're all 2 years,
Stair step.
2 years between us, and so we grew up, really close. I was born in Old Orchard. We moved to Perrysburg, went to Central Catholic, and all four of us went Central Catholic, then Notre Dame, and
Is that how you know this one?
No.
no,
I think I'm substantively older than you. How old are you, John?
yeah, 41.
Don't worry, these questions get
Yeah.
easier.
No,
Jesus
that's all right.
Christ.
Yeah, I know.
there
That's
was
a
a
tricky. I'm officially that age where I forget how old I am.
Yeah, it's going to be a long
I've
show.
told people the wrong
Yeah.
age before.
You read the
when
pre-
did you graduate? That was a better question. man.
He was trying to give it in
thanks.
months.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
give it in
I
months.
assure you
I
he
am-
wasn't.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Trying
am-
to get it in months. Yeah. I graduated in 96.
Oh, okay.
So your
Yeah,
dad
I
was
just-
there actually when I was there.
Okay. Yeah.
We were classmates.
Right. No, he didn't go there, but that's probably why he left shortly after.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I was a few years. I would have just missed you. My brother would have been there though,
Yes.
at the same time, and so, we grew up a pretty close family. I was active in a lot of sports. Catholic school kid my whole life, and my dad was in fundraising. I think that shaped a lot of who I am today and who all of us are. Just kind of with our involvement with the community and like you said, with nonprofits. That's something that
John,
we try
where
to be
your
very engaged with.
siblings all live where?
They're my younger brother and sister are in town.
Okay.
Older
No,
brother
we want
in
their addresses.
California.
Their addresses.
Yeah, I don't know those. Give me a second. I'll have
He
to
didn't
look
know
those
how
up.
old he was,
Yeah, I know.
and you want him to rattle
I
off
forget
the
my
mailing
own
address.
address.
Yeah, sure.
You're talking to somebody who forgets a lot of things, and so
Excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
My sister just moved too, in my defense. So,
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. What an interesting tidbit.
Yeah.
It's those chemicals on the shirts.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we're going to
Yeah.
get to that.
Okay.
The old class action lawsuit. Yeah. So John's fingers are permanently dyed blue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've got a guy who's been printing for longer than me, and you should see him. So,
Yeah. Okay. We'll edit that out. Don't worry.
Right.
We got an attorney present. That's
No,
why
no,
we have
he's
Gretchen
good.
on the show.
yeah.
But first of all, I do want to back up a little bit. Your father doing what he does doesn't necessarily pre-script you all caring about the community you live in. So I would hope that you would take some credit for that. You made a cognitive choice there, and we're the better off for it. Yeah. But I do want to back in a little bit. You go from Central Catholic to where?
Notre Dame.
The university.
Yes.
You were
I didn't
accepted
go to
in-
high school twice.
You were accepted. Well, that is not a rule. Yeah, the guy doesn't know his own goddamn. Yeah, sure.
I love how Matt thought it was more realistic that you
I 1,000. Yeah.
to an
That's the
all-girls high
way-
school.
That's the way I interpreted
But he said
that.
he went. He didn't say that he went to school there.
Oh.
Right. So you were accepted at the University of Notre Dame, like the one with the dome.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Like
says
you
a
went
lot.
to
It
class
says
there.
a lot about them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't say I was a good student or anything like that.
Well, we
but,
didn't ask
you know,
that for sure.
I made it through.
Yeah. How about that? What did you
Yeah.
study?
Marketing.
Okay. Interesting.
Was that the lifelong dream to go to Notre Dame?
Yeah. When it came time for college, I frankly didn't apply too many places. I think I applied to 3 schools.
What was your fallback?
Ohio State.
Yeah.
And I applied to Capital as well.
Sure.
And I just honestly, I didn't look around that much for,
John, I
better
love you.
or
I cannot
worse.
believe that you
So-
went to the Notre Dame, like the school. We're talking about the same place, right? With the Irish person?
South Bend.
Yeah, in Indiana, right? There's not like a weird one that was at, like the
No.
Southwick Mall that you went to.
No, the one in Notre.
And you
South
stayed
Bend,
there and
right?
you went to classes with other people who said, I'm also going to Notre Dame.
Right. I understand it's not a good look for them.
Yeah. Your parents must have been so proud, though.
Right. Yeah, we were just a Notre Dame family. We're,
Sure.
That's what I grew up knowing, and so that's why I applied to go to school there. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, obviously we talked about your dad, but talk to me about your mom and
Absolutely.
how much kind of she's shaped who you are.
Yeah, I mean, once again, like I said, we had a really close family, and my mom was just as involved with all the activities that we were in as kids. I remember her hitting grounders to me out in the backyard, taking us to practice, things like that. And her family's from Toledo, so we were always involved with my cousins and aunts and uncles that were in town.
Pretty good sized family.
And
Okay.
both sides.
What's her maiden name?
Westoven.
Okay.
It's a St. Ursula, St. Francis family, and there were 8 of them.
Okay.
And
wow. All right.
right.
And
So-
Catholic.
Right.
So that's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's quite a few. And still my cousins are in town, and my mom's legacy is still
Absolutely.
part of us today. And,
Sure.
it's I was very fortunate. I had great parents, and I was very lucky with the way my childhood went, and hope
Yeah.
I can do the same for my kids.
We're going to come back to this a bit while we're talking about your mom. So there's still an event,
Yeah,
no
my-
pants, something.
Right. Yeah. So my mom's name was Nancy Pants.
Yeah.
So we it was Nancy. So we called her Nancy Pants because she wore the pants in the relationship.
That's
Sure.
awesome.
It's the
Love
joke
it.
that we made. And
Yeah.
She died of pancreatic cancer, I think 14 years ago now. And so my older brother, started a nonprofit, and it was primarily just a race that he started. It was called Pants Off Racing. And there was a race that used to be in the fall. Now they do one spring, summer. It's moved around a bit. Out in LA, and so we do that
Very
on a regular basis, and it supports people who are went through the experience that we did of having somebody with a lot of times it's pancreatic cancer, but just anyone who's dealing with that.
So it's helping with the grief portion of it, or the treatment, or a combination?
A combination.
Okay.
Primarily, it's supporting the families that
Understood.
have to support somebody who's going through that. So it's more on that side, but it's anything little from. Making sure somebody has a Christmas if that's what they need,
Yeah.
or they have meals or gas for traveling to and from treatment,
Sure.
things like that. So,
That's very cool.
That is cool. How old is that?
you're asking the wrong guy, Matt.
Yeah.
I'm not that smart, remember?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I,
boy.
it's been around.
It is
I
John,
think,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably at least 10 years.
Okay.
Something
Cool.
like that.
All right. All right. So we're from Notre Dame. Jūpmode started out as Jūpmode there. Started out as something else. When did the empire for which we know you now to be the head of your title
Well,
is?
it's hardly an
Screen
empire.
printer. Yeah.
But I shortly after college, I had a T-shirt idea, and
Yeah.
this is what it started with. It was a
And
Jim
Notre
Tressel
Dame,
sweater
again, the
vest T-shirt.
college, like a normal college, they were like just printing out these T-shirt geniuses, right? You are
Notre Dame is known for its T-shirt moguls.
apparel and brand
Yeah.
leaders. Okay.
Well, I heard you call me a bozo before I walked in, so I think
John,
it's T-shirt bozos.
That's a different John Amato.
He never thinks people can hear that.
John, that's a different John Amato entirely, not you.
And so,
All right, so talk us through this
Yeah.
first
Yes,
shirt
please.
idea.
so the first shirt idea was a Jim Tressel sweater vest T-shirt. I was just sitting around watching football with my dad, and
Yeah.
Of course, Ohio
Gretchen, do you
State's-
know who Jim Tressel
I
is?
do. And I even know that he wears a red sweater vest.
Right.
Okay, all right.
And that he was the coach of Ohio State.
Right.
Excellent.
So those are 3 things
Exactly.
that
Yeah, there
I
you go.
know.
And I just asked to be a sexist.
Right. In this case, accurately.
Right.
Sorry, John.
So
That you're here.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I just randomly said while watching the game, somebody should make a Tressel T-shirt, like a tuxedo T-shirt, but for Ohio State. And my dad said, "Hey, why don't you do it?" And I had a sample made. The shirt stood out because it was a red body sewn into white sleeves and a white
is
V-neck
so cute.
portion.
Yeah.
It had a tie screen printed on, and I had a sample made overseas because it was a cut and sew piece. So it was a lot more difficult back then, and I sent it in for licensing at Ohio State University, which I didn't really expect for it to come back and be approved, and it was. And so things moved pretty quickly because that would have been in the spring, I think. And then I would go, hey, if I want stuff for the fall,
Season.
I better move quickly. And so I ran through the process as fast as I can. And the first shirts that I sold, I think, were in about October.
John,
of
you
that
had
year.
already graduated? I think you said this for me. You'd already graduated?
Right.
Okay,
So
what were
this
you
was
doing at the
2007.
time?
I had an internship after I graduated college in France.
Okay.
And I had just returned from that.
I'll tell you what, guys.
And-
I have done a lot of research for John's arrival, and I didn't know any of these things. It is John.
Are you guys really friends?
I don't. This is. I'm
it's
pronouncing
arguable.
John right,
Yeah,
right?
Hang on. You can answer this in a minute because I think you'll get this one
Right.
right. But I want Matt to answer. How do you spell John?
I don't.
Okay.
J-O-N.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, please go back to your
There's
life.
an H.
Yeah, I was like, that's not Jon.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
And your internship in France was with.
it was with Educational Testing Services. They
Okay.
make the test of English as a foreign language, and a couple other tests like that. They do the SAT, or at least they did.
Okay.
And so I don't know. It was just a fun internship. I didn't
It
get
sounds fun.
Yeah.
Plus
The
you were in
SAT
France.
is.
Well,
the
I mean,
SAT
I
is
was
a lot
in
of fun.
I was in France.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Right.
You don't work very hard in France.
No.
Yeah.
And
We have a huge France demographic, so
Right,
thank you for
yeah.
losing half our goodbye downloads.
Hey, I said I enjoyed France, okay?
As
And
far as he's going, though.
right, and so that was kind of right after college. I worked for an electrical contractor just to
Okay.
make money, and then I
Sure.
had the internship, and then shortly after I came back, so I started selling shirts in 2007, and the Ohio State stuff was a lot of fun. I never really got traction beyond the Jim Tressel T-shirt.
Did that take off, though? That
And-
one went crazy?
Yeah. I mean, I sold a lot of shirts, relatively speaking, but retail's a tougher game. It was in the Andersons, it was in Meijer, it was in Kroger.
Those are big deals, though, for a
it
first
was-
T-shirt sort of Hail Mary, no pun intended. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was. It was really neat. It was a fun experience, and it got to a point where it was a hobby, though. Okay,
John, how did you know? How did you know a pricing structure? How did you know how to package these things?
Or who to talk to at Ohio State to get licensing
Yeah.
approval?
So I think a common theme for my entire business career is that I really don't know what I'm doing most of the time.
Yeah, sure. I was going to stop you saying that's fairly generous. to start.
Yeah, especially with that. And I learned a lot of things, just trial and error. And so for a lot of reasons that probably aren't worthwhile getting into right now, the licensing process at Ohio State was much easier than other places.
Okay.
Because at the time, they were an independent school, which means they handled their licensing on their own, where
are they now?
most people don't. They have some influence with the CLC, which everybody does now.
Okay.
And they, honestly, I don't even know, but they exactly what's going on there, but they have reduced the number of licensees. They basically have Nike and then one other licensee
Gotcha.
and then sub-licensees with that one.
Okay.
And so, but for the most part with collegiate licensing, you go to the CLC, the Collegiate Licensing Company, which I think is owned by IMG right now.
Okay.
And they approve or deny, and you essentially have to have a lot of licenses in order to get approved.
So this is your first
so-
crack at it, though.
Yeah.
Let's drop back to where you
And so Tressel, I think, left in 2011, 2012.
Sure. Gretchen?
Somewhere around there.
I think it's about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
He left.
see how I got him back there, John.
Yeah, I think it was 2011. And so while I was doing this, once again, like I said, it wasn't a real business. It was more of a hobby.
Yeah.
I had part-time jobs while I was doing this. I worked in a call center. I worked in a coffee shop, and I was working at Plate 21. and Sandy had a space for rent in Perrysburg, and a dry cleaner used to be there. It was empty. There was nothing going on, and I knew I had to change the business, and I had received enough requests for custom shirts, and so I'm like, okay, this is my last shot. I had, I don't know, like 10 grand that I could spend with credit cards and, some cash that I had. I got some equipment. She gave me a really good deal on rent.
We're talking about Sandy Spang, right?
Yes, yes.
And John, have you always wanted to have your own shingle? Some people would describe this, certainly inaccurately so, as sort of a risk-taking. Are you a risk-taker? Do you want to be on your own?
I think just kind of like how I went to Notre Dame and didn't really think about it.
Enough
it
of the bragging, John.
Right.
You identified yourself with
Well,
Notre Dame.
no, it was also just like, hey, like certain things were expected.
Yeah.
Or, I was kind of nudged in a direction, and I just kind of kept going. And obviously, I think it's worked out at this point. And I'm really happy with where I'm at.
Yeah.
But I don't think
expectation
I
from
had
yourself
thought about it.
Or from family, your expectation to push or
my parents had very high expectations for me.
Okay.
And,
so
I have high
their disappointment must be incalculable.
Yeah. Well, you're right.
Yeah.
And, I was fortunate that I had a long runway. Okay.
Yeah.
And, was given the time and, had the willingness to put through that effort. And so, I started screen printing on my own. The first full year would have been in 2012.
In the dry cleaner? Or
it was behind.
Okay.
It was in a space behind. And honestly, it had no lights when I moved in.
Yeah.
It didn't have a bathroom.
Wow.
I lived in walking distance. I'd have to go home for that.
Sure.
And then I joked that I put like one light in each year. And so in year 3, I had three lights in that space.
Yeah.
And
Sure, it's a lot different at that point.
right.
That's right.
The quality control was tough without any lights.
Little flashlight.
And, right.
Yeah.
And so, but it was enough to get going. The business started to grow when I started screen printing on my own.
Was there an aha moment or a point when you hit something or an order came in, you're like, this is actually a sustainable business? Or is that even to today? You're like, God damn it.
I still think that sometimes today. And, I always live in fear that, the bottom's just going to fall out.
I understand.
And so, I've never, obviously at this point, things are a lot different, but it's still, I think I'm motivated by that fear of
Absolutely.
failure.
And the 3 boys.
Right, and
Sure.
the 3 boys.
I get
right.
it. No, I get it. So, and you started out in that spot as Jūpmode?
Yes.
Okay, and I know that you've told this probably to 10,000 people, but if you don't mind, for those who don't know, how did that come to fruition? Was it something that it was an amalgam of things, but for those who don't know, like myself.
The name.
The name.
Like, where did the name Jūpmode come from?
Yeah, I told a little bit about the backstory of how I was working in France prior to starting this.
After you left Notre Dame, the prestigious university?
Yes.
Okay, so make sure we're checking the boxes for you.
He's actually, as an alum, I think he has to say Notre Dame once every
Great.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
So
No, trust me.
And I don't.
I try not to bring it up as much as I can. And really, I thought since you invited me, you might be nicer to me,
No,
Matt.
Yeah.
you
No.
should have known.
Yeah. Oh, no.
He's
Yeah.
not nice to us. So
Yeah,
it's,
right.
Yeah.
quite the opposite,
Right,
actually.
I know.
He's actually relatively pleasant to some of our guests,
That's right.
not his own.
Yeah, so I got to get to know these two better. But
Yeah, well, good luck. Enjoy that trip. Yeah.
So when my older brother was in 7th grade, I was in 5th. My dad said to Pat, he goes, "Hey, it's time to get a job. A lawn mowing business would be a really good job." So my brother started a lawn mowing business, and you're in 7th grade, you don't really have much of a business plan, but he was working on a project on the planet Jupiter at the time, so he called it Jupiter Pro Lawn Care. So
Jupiter Pro
Pro
Lawn Care.
lawn care. I love it.
So he had Jupiter Pro Lawn Care. I worked for him, took it over when he went to college, and then we passed it on to my brother. So it was kind of a big thing for us.
Totally.
It was the first, we had T-shirts made for it. And so it was kind of, it was significant for us as a family and, it was, for us kids. And so when I started this, as I quickly mentioned, is I came up with the T-shirt idea, it got approved, and I had a very short window in order to release it. And so I had to come up with an official brand name. And I had an LLC with the state, but it wasn't very relevant. And I needed kind of a DBA or a brand name. And so Jūpmode is essentially Jupiter fashion. Mode is the French word for fashion, since I had just returned from France. And
I
so,
love it. I never knew that.
Yeah.
I never knew what the origin
We're
was.
all doing so much learning. It's all we can do.
I know.
Right?
That's all we can do.
right. So,
Very
I mean,
cool.
it's not, I mean, I'll readily admit, I don't think it's a very good business name.
Sure.
But it's stuck at this point, and
Yeah.
it is what it is. But that's how it came about.
Well, but it's become, I mean, at least in our region, unbelievably recognizable. And
Yeah.
you and I have talked about this, that I think at a time when, tri-blend wasn't a thing, right?
Right.
It wasn't everything.
Yeah.
You guys were putting out a better
Right.
quality shirt.
Tell everyone what tri-blend is.
You want me to do that?
Jesus,
I can.
One of your buffoons. Just,
I'll do
it's
it.
a talk show.
It's
Yeah.
Polyester, cotton, and
Rayon.
Rayon. Thank you. I was going
Yeah.
to say nylon, but that's not
And that's
right.
relevant
And-
because
Well, it's just, it is. It's like a softer vintage
It's buttery
style
soft.
shirt.
That's right, absolutely.
And
thank you, Gretchen.
welcome.
it was just a trend that was happening,
Yep.
in the, 20 years ago. And I think we helped, at least in the area, bring it to more
Absolutely you did.
custom
Totally.
Yeah.
shirts. And so
it feels right.
right. And the more people wear a shirt, the better it's going to be for
I've been wearing
whoever
this
is
shirt
you
for
can't-
days.
You can't go
Right.
back after
Right.
you get
Uh-huh.
one.
I agree.
So is it true, I could be wrong in this, Matt will tell me if I am, but isn't it
God, I
true
hope
that
you're
you
wrong.
guys came up with or started the whole "You Will Do Better in Toledo" and did the sign and brought that back?
Yeah. So, first of all, the
Just a
history of
natural
the sign,
transition from the fibers in
Yeah.
the clothing to this sign.
Uh-huh.
Thanks.
Well,
Gretchen.
I mean, but that was one of the early-
That was like a turning
That
point.
was the first
That was a good transition.
city Toledo City Pride shirt that we made.
Mm-hmm.
It was that, and the history of it is that it was a sign that was above the Valentine Theater. It was first put up in 1913, and it actually was a movable sign, and the dots that you see on the shirt were actually light bulbs. And there was an ocean freighter that was part of it, and then a train. And but the main part was the slogan that said, "You will do better in Toledo." And when I first made that shirt,
Where did you come
you
across
saw it-
that? Where did you find that sign?
you saw it in a couple places at the time. And I don't know if you remember back then, but I think the most prominent, at least for people my age, was Wesley's. Wesley's had a sign that was kind of a replica of the original sign. And then the other was the coffee table book from the Blade. It was a postcard book. So you saw it two places. And at least that's where I saw it back then. And then I made the shirt. And I think that was the third thing that really got it moving.
Hooks in, sure.
And then we had the shirt. I think we had it for a year or two, and then it was put on the street signs as you came to Toledo. And there were a couple other things that I think really
it
brought
really,
that back to
really took
prominence.
off. Yeah.
Did you see that sign and say that'd be a great shirt, or did you say I want to do a Toledo Pride shirt, and then that sign popped up?
It was actually when I was doing the Trestle T-shirt, I knew I needed to expand what I was doing, and I was doing generic Ohio State shirts. I got a license with Michigan and then Toledo and Bowling Green. And once again, I was struggling to get traction. And I had a friend who would go to the games and sell with me in Columbus. And
Selling out of
he
your
was
car, selling out of off a cardboard table. What was that?
we had a fold-up table that we
Sure.
would set in front of the 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
And we would just sell before the games and after. And we would just talk about new ideas. And one of the ideas, he was like, you should do Toledo shirts, and I think the best idea is the "You Will Do Better in Toledo" sign.
Yeah.
And so it was specifically, we were thinking of vintage style shirts for the city of Toledo, and that just really stood out as the best one, the most obvious one.
Is that vintage or nostalgic idea is so difficult, I think, to create. I don't understand. Like, once you see it, you're like, oh, yeah, of course, cool. But somebody has to think about the fact that this would be nostalgic for others.
Right.
I know you have a team that creates this, but, John, can you give us a little bit of idea or talk a little bit about how do you get your team around, or are you whiteboarding nostalgia as a concept?
Yeah, we, our focus, at least early on, it was specifically around businesses and, for me at least, it was places that I remembered.
Sure.
just because obviously I related to that the most. And so like the best example I can give is Lion's Store. You know, I grew up going to Lion's Store, and I just thought this is the best shirt idea I've ever had.
Yeah.
And
it was.
It was a super cool
Right.
logo.
It was.
And to this day, it was still your best idea, regrettably.
Yeah.
a
Well,
decade ago.
I'm about to tell you otherwise, because I released the shirt and I was like, I released it, I think, right before Christmas too. And I was like, everybody's going to buy this because, you know, people would get Christmas gifts from Lion's Store.
Yeah.
And chances are they'd be disappointed because it'd be like, you know, a button-down shirt, not something cool that they wanted, and they'd be disappointed when they see the Lion's Store box. Right.
Kevin is removing his button-down shirt as we talk right now.
So I really thought it was going to be a big hit. It was, you know, an iconic logo, like you said, and I came out with it, and it just kind of it was fine. And what happened was, people that saw the shirt, they would talk about it for a second, and they'd go, "Oh, do you remember Tidkeys? What about Tidkeys? You should do a Tidkeys shirt." And I was like, "What is Tidkeys?"
Yeah.
And
That's
it was just
older than
because,
you.
right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, fine, I'll do a Tidkeys shirt. And Tidkeys started outselling Lion's Store, and I was like, it blew my mind that this idea that I thought was really good with Lion's Store, Tidkeys outperformed. I think in the long run, Lion's Store has, you know, has outpaced it.
But I think that's the interesting thing about this, right? Is laying claim to
Right.
nostalgia for a region of 460,000
Exactly.
And then they
people.
did a Sufficient Ground shirt too.
Right. Yep. And it's so interesting to me just how certain people have different memories of different places, or even their like little their pockets where it's like people are just so engaged with it, and you're just like, we did not expect this to happen,
That's very
and they've
cool.
sold so many.
Yeah.
So give us a snapshot of what, we talked about sort of the early beginnings, but what does Jūpmode look like today? Like number of employees, you got somewhere else we're going.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I do want to get to that, but this is a more interesting question.
I'll be the judge.
So
Damn it!
right
I'll be the
now.
judge.
So, John, how much do you think I weigh? Just ballpark. No, I'm just kidding. When you talk about just
Stand up.
stand up and jump off.
I was going to lift you. I was going to lift you out.
Call me after the show. I'm available for lifting. You need
Okay.
I mean, that is. First of all, like that's one of those fun, like strange interview questions, right? Like you got to hire somebody for a job. You're not asking a dumb question. Ballpark, how much do I weigh?
Yeah.
And I loved that response of stand up. Can I lift you?
I can judge only with my mouth. Your words. John without the H. With your buddies.
Right.
When you think about
Expect nothing less. Nothing less.
We used to have
right?
headphones. But now we can't because of Gretchen's.
So we
laughing.
We record about 4 hours for every episode, and then we cut it down to about 50 minutes. About 50 minutes of debatably of.
We had to take all of Matt's snarky
I'm not going to
comments.
say
I
it's
haven't
good
slept
content.
for weeks.
Okay.
In preparation for this because I'm so nervous.
You look it.
It's just an
DoorDash.
absolute wild card here.
DoorDash dropped off coffee
just
if
got
you're
coffee if you want
thirsty.
it.
Yeah.
Okay,
need
anyway,
something
back to my
stronger.
riveting question. When you talk about your brand, how do you describe it? If you were stopped at a convention or stopped vacationing, you're like, well, what is Jūpmode to you? What is it?
So we describe Jūpmode, our retail brand, as an apparel line primarily that celebrates the history of Toledo, Ohio, in the Midwest. It's for people who are proud to call this area home and want to celebrate that.
Yeah. Christ, you have to let Kevin talk.
Yeah, Kevin,
But I am interested in that capacity question, please.
Because, and on the heels of Kevin's question, obviously many people know or maybe have seen down Monroe Street the transition you're making into that huge new cool space there. So
So from the humble beginnings in Perrysburg, with you being the one pulling the squeegee across the shirt,
A lightless room, just making totally off-kilter
with a
shirts.
headlamp on.
swinging.
Did you wear a headlamp? Just say yes.
We thought about it.
Probably.
Yes!
Yeah, probably.
Just to make her whole.
What is?
Probably.
Yeah.
What does Jūpmode as a company look like today?
So we are located on Adams Street currently. We've been in that building for, I think, about 8 years. It was a land
You're
bank
kidding
building.
me, it's been 8 years there.
Right.
Man.
We renovated it and kind of built it out in stages.
a cute space.
We're
Nice
moving
space.
to Monroe Street later this year.
No build out needed. That place is move in ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
For raccoons.
The thing is, you go through enough of those land bank buildings and they progressively look better, and then you aren't so afraid.
You're not shocked anymore, right?
Yeah. So
when you're not falling in through the floor.
You have to
That's
walk
how
through a
dating is for
few
me.
to feel good about it. And,
Just have to walk through.
So all the manufacturing and everything will be there at the same.
right. We'll move everything over. We'll have a larger retail store. We'll have more office space. We're currently utilizing about 11,000 square feet on Adams Street. It's chopped up kind of weird, which is one of the reasons for the move. We'll have 27,000 square feet on Monroe Street.
From a back room to 27,000 square
Yeah.
feet. That has to feel good. I mean, you've built this on a card table.
Yeah. Well, a couple nice things that I think people will appreciate. We'll have a sign at the new building, which is a big upgrade.
Yeah.
Right now, we don't have a sign out front.
Sure.
We'll have a parking lot, which is good because right now it's just street parking.
People in Toledo love a good parking lot.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things that we're looking forward to. I know Matt's been in the back of the space. I don't know, Kevin, if you've been back there as well, but it's gotten really tight for us. We just need more work, more room to work around. Most of our business, I don't know if everybody realizes this, is custom screen printing and embroidery.
I did not
and
know
promotional items. It's actually over 80% of our business.
Wow.
And so that's what keeps us busy. That's really what's driving the growth for us right now, and what's really forced us into needing more space.
And do you do all the, I know in the retail store and online you have, the can cozies and the glasses and keychains. Do you do all of that there? That stuff is farmed out.
Yeah,
you're just making the shirts and embroidered stuff.
If it's screen printed and embroidered, we most likely did it in house. There are a couple of things that might be an exception, but we outsource. Your pint glasses, right? The koozies, the stickers, things like that. It's just really effective to be able to do that out, and we're limited to a certain extent in our capabilities.
The term pivot has sort of become a little cliche, as we talk about the pandemic and how businesses sort of had to reinvent themselves during that time. I think the timeline is that when COVID hit, you guys launched your Here for Good program. Talk to me, for listeners that may not be familiar with that, tell me about that program, sort of where it came from and what that looks like now, 4 years later, what that looks like today.
Yeah, so it's actually really relevant because it's a program we started in 2020 during the pandemic. It's weird to think back to it, 4 years later, but things were just so much different back then, and we were just struggling to figure out, hey, how can I, keep everybody employed? Is there anything we can do to help other people? All those thoughts were running through our minds, and one of the ideas we were trying to really figure out was, hey, can we use our online platform to sell shirts for other people? How do we do it in a way that works for us so that it's not overcomplicated? Is there a way to really create a streamlined online platform to do this? And the idea that came through, as Kevin said, was Here for Good. We put simple one-color designs on T-shirts, sold them for $20. 10 of that went back to the organization that was selling it. It was a lot of restaurants, salons, bars, local businesses is really how we identified it at first, but it was nonprofits as well. Anybody who had an idea, they could do something. A lot of people put something up and they donated it to another organization. And so we're about to launch it again this year. I think, I don't know what the total number of shirts that we've sold, but we've been able to put back $270,000 in the community over that time. Wonderful. And so it's really neat to be a part of that. It's really neat to be connected to so many other small businesses. We're a small business after all. And especially back in 2020, things were so uncertain. Nobody knew what was happening. It felt really neat to be able to
comparatively,
help in that
how
way.
much money have your clients taken out of the community?
I'd say 220,
Okay,
270.
all right, so we're at a break-even point. Yeah, that's good. John, I don't want to overstep here. Thank you. Sorry, we'll fix that in editing because there's certainly a boundary, right? You are a public person, and a private person as well. Can we talk a little bit about the three boys? What time do you set aside for them and your wonderful wife, and what you do around the homestead? Because this is when it gets really bizarre, in my opinion.
Right.
So
so I have my wife and I have three boys.
all named after Sopranos characters.
Yeah, they are.
What are their names?
Yeah, they're really good Italian boys, I'll tell you. Frank is 5, and then we have Carl and Eddie, who are 3.
Yeah.
And
And
Eddie is the best name.
right.
For twins.
On their
And
way
so-
to a bowling alley near you.
Right, yeah.
And your wife's name is Maura,
Maura,
correct?
yes.
Yeah.
And, we average like a bloody nose a week.
Sure.
And,
Yours or theirs?
yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Sometimes
It's just
mine.
the
Yeah,
average.
yeah.
They pop
Just an
us.
average,
Yeah.
Kevin. We're not. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And, we haven't been to the ER since, I think, August. So
Oh,
we're
geez.
doing,
Well,
we're
you're
doing
gonna
pretty
wish
good
you
here.
didn't say that.
They
We
stopped-
talk about a no-hitter in the middle of a
Yeah,
no-hitter.
they stopped giving away stuffed animals at the ER, so my boys haven't been
You're like,
back in a
"Screw it,"
while.
yeah.
And but they're preschool age,
Yeah.
so it's busy, but not too busy. I think
Yeah.
when you get into sports when they get older, it gets
But
really
they're
hectic. You guys would know better than me, but it's a ton of fun. As you mentioned earlier, I like to work in the yard, and they come out with me and climb on the log pile or the mulch pile and shovel the dirt and things like that.
What is
So-
growing in the yard? Talk to us a little bit about, because one of the ways we first met was you were putting a rooftop garden
Yeah.
on the Adams Street place. So what is currently being cultivated in your
Yeah.
backyard that lawfully can be talked about?
And I didn't know there was a garden on the rooftop of the Adams
There's
Street
a
building.
lunatic.
Vegetables or
Yeah, he was like, hey, I want all my staff to be able to have their own basil. And I was like, what a
Well-
fucking weirdo.
Well,
And boy, was I off.
the most memorable plant
Yes.
that I had at the building though
Yeah.
wasn't grown on the roof. Do you
Yes.
remember what it was?
Of course I do. John is still the proud owner and caretaker, my words, of a tree seems generous. There is a living organism that is in the alley behind the shop that not you, but the prior owners decided that it needed to be protected. So it's like the Christmas weed
Yeah.
with like a 3-sided fence around it.
Yeah, it's the most bizarre thing. And there was like this corner outside where the two buildings fit together.
Yeah.
And it must have been a tree, like a weed of some sort that they let grow to become a tree.
A significant.
And it was
yeah.
30 feet tall.
Yeah.
And they must have had problems with people climbing it. And they decided rather than cut it down,
Yeah.
they put a fence around it.
That's not a joke.
And it was.
I know
remember
John
when
pretty
you came
well,
through.
right? So I'm
It
back-
was. The
first time I
I
saw
left
that-
it there for a while.
Of course
I was
you
like,
did.
what, I
You'd
really
climb the
just
tree to
wanted.
get to
I
the
needed
roof?
to think about it and
was a
understand
fire.
what was going on.
Yeah.
And then I did. I have since cut it down.
Yeah. Oh.
And
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
but there was
That's
that
a
little
good
tree
tree.
there. and it was a-
Dominic, can we put taps?
Yeah.
Can we put that in? So I will tell you, so John is like a weird ass dude, right? So I was back there, I was like, John, did you put a fucking fence around this
Yeah.
twig in your backyard? And he was like, no, I wouldn't do that. I was like,
Yeah.
yes, you would do that. So that, after cutting down.
I like
was there one of
trees,
the
but
tree-
not ones growing out of the
Yeah,
the
I
pavement.
get it. A good use of your arms there. That's helpful on the radio.
Yeah.
Tell me about the house. What's
There's a
growing in your
camera right
backyard?
Is that doing nothing?
That's with
No,
the
it's on.
So-
Lucas County prosecutor.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But tell me about the.
Supervised
Wait,
visitation.
right,
Matt and you. Yeah.
Let's just get to the
Oh,
goddamn
man.
question.
Okay.
What are you growing?
I grow. I grow whatever people in my family might want. A lot of tomatoes, peppers, garlic, potatoes.
Right.
I have some fruit as well.
Where does that
Raspberries,
come from?
blackberries.
Was with Nancy or Chris? I mean,
We had a
parents?
garden growing up, but also Maura was interested in it and started growing things, and then I just kind of I mostly handle it now. It's one of those things for me. It's turned into that thing for me where
therapeutic.
I don't know what you guys do when
Drink.
it's like, yeah, just
No
that.
matter what this question
that
is.
stress release.
Yeah, totally.
and it's like I can go out, I can work in the garden, and that's just what I'm thinking of. And
Well, and so wildly different from your day job.
Yeah.
right, yeah.
So
And
Maura, I want to talk a little bit about this poor lady. When she was a little girl, she was like, "Ugh, I hope I can marry a screen printer." right? As all little girls do
Yeah.
dream. Where did you meet this poor woman, and why did she make
she's
this
an art
life
teacher.
choice? Okay.
And
an artist as well.
right.
in her
And
own
she
way.
was actually teaching at the same school as my sister, and that's how we met.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
That's cute.
right.
What was
And
the school?
It was St. Rose in Perrysburg.
Okay.
And
you went to Notre Dame?
Yes.
Got
I
it.
did.
It was about time. It's like
That's
the
got to
station.
sink in, I think, a little bit for Matt. Still.
Yeah.
It might take a while. But they were teaching together, and she's at Perrysburg Schools right now. But she's originally from Columbus, went to Bowling Green. Got her first job was St. Rose, and
So I
That's
got
how
to meet
things
your
started.
lovely wife. You guys have all been to the mayor's office, but when Wade was first inaugurated, we had that celebration, and she made this huge panel for us that was a community paint by number,
Oh, cool.
and it was like the city of Toledo sky,
Yeah.
scape, and all the kids in the community that came, the 2,000 or so people that came
I think
to
I've
this
seen
event.
the after. I
Yeah.
didn't know that was.
She made that.
so
It's very cool. It's still in the office.
I'm going to tell you the most interesting thing about Maura is that when she was young, growing up in Columbus, she was very interested in art, and through her sister, who had a friend who was in the business, she actually got into ice carving.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And when she was 12, she was in an ice carving competition at the Toledo Zoo, and she was actually in the blade carving ice
Yeah.
as a 12-year-old. Yeah, and I think that.
With what? Like a chainsaw? What did
yeah.
they- Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Yeah.
Still have the chainsaw.
Let me tell you
Did
what.
you have the kids out in the backyard doing that?
Right.
She's still-
Not yet.
So I know
I try
Perrysburg-
to bring her out of retirement like every year. And she
Yes.
won't. And so the guy who wins every year the competition in Perrysburg was the guy that she worked with. And so we will
You
go.
know this person?
No, I don't. No,
We
no, but
would-
I know that
yeah.
Perrysburg does these competitions at Winterfest, and
They just had to
hasn't-
cancel it this year because it was too cold.
Right. Yeah.
Well, which is funny
We-
because normally they
Oh, really?
cancel because it's too warm.
Exactly. So we'll go to that and she'll say hi to him. But
Does she critique the others? She's like, oh, I
She
could've done
does.
that better. Yeah. Yeah.
And,
It doesn't even look
Right.
three-dimensional.
I mean, no
hesitation.
That's
She'll,
right. Yeah, that's
well,
right.
no, and she'll even talk
American
about like,
Eagle,
oh,
my ass.
She'll be like, I used to do that when I was
Now,
still
why does her
carving
voice do
ice.
that?
That's a conversation off mic, I think.
Is she
but-
still teaching at
Yeah, she
Rosio?
is, and she the other connection she had at Toledo's. She was always really interested in paint by numbers, which paint by numbers were manufactured in Toledo.
They were started here in
didn't
Toledo.
know
And
that.
right, so we
Yeah.
right, which is another I think interesting tidbit.
That
of
is
Toledo.
very interesting. Yeah. So other than whacking people, your boys are into art and growing and
Yeah.
just kicking the snot of one another. What are they? It's early on, right? But what are they aspiring to do, or what are they interested in?
Well, obviously because Maura is an artist,
Yeah.
they have a little bit of that in them, but also I think because she's an art teacher, they're doing art all the time.
Cool.
And it's fascinating. And for those that have kids, it's just so interesting, at least for me, to find out what they're interested in
Yes.
and see where it leads them in ways that you just don't expect. And I'm not an artist in any way. And so to see
Or
Frank,
creative, or charming. Right?
exactly. So to see this in Frank,
Yeah.
I question if I'm his father. I think is what you're getting at.
I don't know. I'll push back a little bit when you say you're not an artist, because I think it's the like we were talking in our live episode. Rhonda Sewell talking about as a
Yeah, thanks
journalist.
for coming, John.
It isn't just about writing; it's about listening, right? And I
for-
think
thanks for the
as an
invite,
artist, it isn't just about creating; it's about observing. And I think
Right.
that for you to be able to see Jim Tressel on TV
Yeah.
and say that'd make a good T-shirt,
Right.
or for you to see a sign on the wall of a bar.
Yes.
I mean, I've seen a lot of
Right.
signs on a lot of walls in bars, and never once have I thought, you know what, that'd be a good way to celebrate Toledo.
Right.
That's what I mean about the angle or the brand, if you will, which I
Yeah.
hate saying it is. It's not just the things it feels good, because it certainly does. And I didn't realize it was such a moving thing to have that tri-blend come here. But being able to pick or your niche to be nostalgic, that is being able to read the tea leaves and say, this matters, right? And this is going to resonate. And I know you're not batting 1,000 to your point, but you're pretty damn close, man. And you have to be a good listener and have, not to make you feel uncomfortable, you have to have a big heart, right? Because you have to be a receptor to what matters to people. And that deliverable doesn't just come out of nowhere.
I want to jump back a little bit. So we talked about sort of the growth of the company. How many employees do you have today?
So we have
Regrettably, today I let them all go.
right.
This comes out on Christmas, just to
Yeah.
let you know.
Yeah. We have 38 employees right now.
I guess so. I was setting up my question of like, when you went from being alone in a small warehouse with one light swinging from the ceiling to now I've got 38 employees, like that's a different skill set than making T-shirts.
Yeah.
Where did that? How did you transition into becoming a boss?
Yeah. Well, I mean, once again, like I said earlier, I didn't really plan for a lot of things that I'm doing now. And the most obvious was managing people, or is managing people. And I, at least, a lot of other people who run businesses, they plan for that. And for whatever reason, I just, I didn't. And it's anybody who runs their own business or manages a lot of people will tell you that's the hardest part of any business. And it's the thing that I struggle with the most every day. And, you know, it's the area where I need to grow the most right now as well, is in managing people, helping make them better, make the people around me better at what they do, and make their jobs easier. And it's just it's requiring just the most growth in a way that I didn't expect, and especially at this point in my career as well. You know, I'm good at production, and I know I'm good at production. And for, you know, several years, for the last 4 or 5 years, I would default back to production. And part of that is I think I'm good at production, but another part of that is because I'm bumping my head against the ceiling in terms of managing other people. Yeah. And so we're very much as an organization in a building our team phase, where we're trying to add the right people in management positions to help us to continue to grow. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I didn't expect that answer to be so long and boring, so I don't know how much longer we have. So I don't know what we
You're
have.
so good to our guests.
Yeah. Well, we don't care if they come back.
Oh, that's a good point.
So who gives a shit?
Yeah,
this is what I expected.
Yeah. Thank you, John.
Is Matt's guest.
How did you meet Matt?
I don't actually know. I was trying to think of.
I was asking.
I think it was John Icost.
Oh, right.
So it's his fault.
John Icost, right?
I honestly don't know, John.
Probably. I think it was, because
I don't know how many more times I can tell you I don't know. I don't know why you keep pointing at me and asking.
I'm gonna tell you.
Okay. And
if you don't know the answer, let him give his answer.
I'm trying to.
Okay.
And I think he introduced us, and then because I remember taking you on a tour of the building that first time you came through, and we saw the fenced-in tree, and we went up.
Yeah, before you killed it.
Yeah.
Before you murdered it.
Yeah, we went up to the rooftop garden. And
yeah.
I think that's my guess.
That could be it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there isn't as much overlap, despite the fact that we have a lot of things in common. Not talent, right? That John has that, but we have a lot of overlap, but we never actually overlapped in those ways. And one nice thing, I think it's sort of the backbone of the show, is that we're Toledoans who like what we where we live, and it matters to us. So there's a natural connection there that we've been able to continue for almost a decade now.
Right.
So what's the favorite thing you like to take the boys to do that you guys in Toledo area? What's the activity? Where are you going to take them for
if
like
you say the zoo, I swear to God, I'll rip
out?
this goddamn microphone off the table.
I'm just trying to think of all the non-Toledo Metro parks that we go to.
That's right.
We only exclusively go to City of
I don't know
Toledo
if you've
parks.
ever been to Wood County Parks. Yeah. What a dream.
The mayor in the live podcast
Pacesetter Park.
legitimately with one of the directors of the city parks in the room talked about how great the Metro parks are.
Yeah. And they took it great.
Of course they did.
It went over
no chance.
No, that's a great question. You'll do better in Toledo, and somebody who his wife quite literally wrote the book on it. Where's the place?
So I just want to jump in. I'm going to interrupt you before you even answer, because the you'll do better in Toledo. Like, I love that so much, and I tell people, like, I can say it so many different ways. Right.
How do you mean?
So what word am I emphasizing when I say you'll do better in Toledo? Am I saying you, Matt, will do better in Toledo, or am I saying like you will do better in Toledo, or am I saying you will do better? Right. Where am I putting the emphasis?
Or when people are being sarcastic, they're like, you'll do better in Toledo.
Right.
But
hear that too.
Yeah, but I think that idea, like that message that, I feel the same way about, you're here for good. I think the name is so brilliant because it's for businesses to say, no, we're going to help you be here for good, but also we as
here
Jūpmode.
for good.
Now I get it.
I also think
I hate you so much.
Well, I'm trying to take what you're saying seriously. It's just hard for me.
Well, one thing I like about it as well is that it's not like definitively saying that Toledo is the best place for everybody as well.
That's right.
And so I do think there are a lot of ways that you can say it and a lot of meaning behind it that you can derive. And so I do think that's one reason that it resonates with so many people.
Yes.
Because it can be taken so many different ways.
And you've done better.
Yeah, I certainly have. I think there are opportunities that were provided me in Toledo that wouldn't have been in other places, and I assume that's the same for you guys.
Access.
Yeah, we're going to end on that, mostly so we can start editing this.
We didn't get to his favorite place to go question.
I'm sorry. Let's go back to that. John.
Dominic wants to know the answer.
Yes. Yeah. Dominic is the only person with headphones on. That's not a mistake. Those things are sound eliminating.
He has to listen to all of this.
Yeah. Right. Well, he just got out of prison. So this is part of
Is that where you two met?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good one.
Yeah. Good one, John. Oh, he's the best.
Hey, coming
I
up
went to Notre Dame.
Next month on the 419, we get rid of Matt and
Was
we
he going
add
to answer
John.
the goddamn question? I'm sorry, John. Cough it up.
We of course love going to the Metro Parks, Glass City Metro Park.
Oh, cool.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Our boys love every part of it. I took Frank to the Ribbon. He got to skate around this winter, which was a lot of fun. Imagination Station, they always love going to. Maura does a really good job. Once again, because she's a teacher, she takes them all over, and they get to see so many different things. And there are a lot of places in Toledo that not everybody knows about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that are a lot of fun. Nature's Nursery, she took one of the boys to. There was she took one of them to one of those cat homes.
John, it was just one place, so we're trying to end the show.
Well,
so
there isn't just the thing about it is you can't just say one.
Yeah,
I think
clearly.
It's important to qualify it and that
broaden their horizons.
Right. Yeah.
That's where we brought John on. John, all kidding aside, man, you were on my list towards the bottom, but towards my list of people to bring on. I love you. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I'm worried about the future of the show because I assumed
I wouldn't worry about it. There's no future to the show.
I was pretty low on the list, so you might run out of guests soon.
Okay,
not all that different from
pleasure.
you starting your business. We also have no plan.
Yeah, and I'm wearing a headlamp.
We feel like we have the wrong leadership team. You know what I'm saying?
So you're the best, John. We're
Thank
trying
you
to sign
for
off
coming
here.
in.
Thanks for
Yeah, of
coming,
course.
brother.
Thank you.
I know that
I'm honored to be here. I truly enjoy the podcast. I've listened to every episode, and
Maybe we need to have John do shirts for us.
yeah,
Here for good.
we can do that.
Did anyone else just not think of that besides
There's
me?
a lot of more better
with our
serving places
faces,
than these.
yellow shirts with
John,
our
just
faces.
my friends. We're trying to take advantage of my one friend, John. John, just get out of here while
We
you can.
would pay him.
Yeah.
Yeah, when
theory.
I love it when the only non-marketing person around the table comes up with the marketing ideas for the podcast.
No, it's
Well,
marketing.
no one's confused
Are
me
you
for
saying
good
I'm
marketing.
non-marketing?
Here we go, John. Just get out.
I
Please,
thought, I thought you were an attorney.
yeah, John, please just get off the show. This has been great.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thanks to John Amato from Jūpmode for being our guest this month. Hey, their Here for Good campaign is going on until March 31st. Visit Jūpmode.com to support a local organization or an individual by purchasing a shirt or sweatshirt with their design. The 419 is hosted by Gretchen DeBacker, Matt Killam, and me, Kevin Mullen. Our audio engineer is Dominic Jerome. And we're proud to be sponsored by Witro Wealth Management. Learn more at WitroAdvisors.com. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook to keep up with the show, and we'll see you May 13th at Toledo Spirits for our live episode. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you back for the next episode of the 419.